from the Daily Wire. Senate confirms Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Woo! This was absolutely fantastic. Mitch McConnell was furious, and he betrayed MAGA and said he voted against her, despite the fact he voted for Garland and Lloyd Austin.
Unreal.
It's like, yeah, come on, man. This dude, look, they don't like Tulsi Gabbard because she represents a lot of what we've wanted for a long time, sound foreign policy. She's now going to be overseeing all 18 intelligence agencies, including the CIA. And based on everything they said about her, how they lied about her, how they went after her for refusing to toe the line behind the Democratic establishment, this is beautiful. But the big story here is not necessarily just to sit here and talk about how happy we are about Tulsi Gabbard. It's to point out that Democrats are scumbags. You know, look, I'm an opinion guy, right? I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party for the most part. You know, we can rag on Mitch McConnell all day. But Donald Trump took it over, and you've got MAGA within the Republican Party, and we kind of like what they're doing. But the Democrats prove themselves time and time again to be, what's the right word? Disloyal is
annoying.
One word. Well, annoying is easy, but lacking honor. Lacking honor. They have no honor. They care not for it. Bernie Sanders refuses to vote for Tulsi Gabbard after praising her endorsement of him for president. Bernie represents the Democratic Party perfectly. He initially was a man of principle. You'd see him walking around D.C. He didn't make that much money. You know, he's getting $150,000 a year at the time in Congress. And I remember being in D.C. 14 years ago with my buddies, and we saw him walking down the street, and we were like, it's Bernie Sanders. And everybody knew the guy. He had been no mittens. It was warm out. He had been consistent on his policy positions. And then something happened. He had this gym room announcement of president with this crappy little banner. I'm going to run for president. And he got a lot of support from progressive young people. And the deep state was none too happy that he was destabilizing the Democratic Party's position. And so he decided he would bend the knee. And what happened? You know, I'm just going to say, perhaps. It's interesting that Bernie bends the knee to the deep state, to the establishment Democrats, and then becomes a millionaire right away. Right away. You know, I sold a book. If you sold a book, you could be rich too and own 3 houses. So Bernie Sanders represents exactly what the Democratic Party is. For a while, they seem to be of principle, these young activists. The moment you offer them a paycheck, they will turn on a dime. I'd be willing to bet you go to any one of these lefty Antifa types and you offer them a 6-figure salary, they'll put on a suit in 2 seconds. They will say, tell me where to stand. If the DNC, if David Hogg walks up to any random Antifa guy and says, you know, you could do a lot of good with the Democratic Party and we can bring your ideas in. How would you like to make a difference? We'll give you $700,000 a year. They'd be like, tell me where to stand and tell me what to say. 2 seconds.
Bernie. He was like, how old is he now? 80 something? He was 80, I think, when he was running for president, 70 something. And
he was 70 something.
So like people, you would think that late in life, like you just don't flip when it's brought. You're like, look, I could have flipped to the other side 20 years ago. I've chosen to live my life righteously, but like, either they scared him with Donald Trump and just constantly whispering in his ear like worm tongue, and his body's too old, his brain's too old to resist it, and he was changed because of fear, or somebody came in and they threatened him in a way that we'll never know. That
it's that simple, bro. Ian, when they come to you and they say, look, you're generating a lot of positive attention, you're building this beautiful campaign, but we are working really hard to defeat Donald Trump, and you are actually helping this bad man. So we'll tell you what, for your troubles, we're going to help you publish your book. We're going to connect you with this great agency. You're going to make $1 million and buy that lake house for your wife. You've always wanted it, don't you? And then Bernie's like, well, I don't know. And then as they're saying, no. I mean, it's great that we can do this for you. And then they start putting on the gloves and say, you know, of course, if there's something else that you're interested in doing, as they grab the garrote wire and start wrapping around their arms and say, we can always just maybe I can give you a back massage, or you can take the money. And Bernie's like, I'll take the money.
They might have, but I actually think it's more like they scared him with Trump. They're just like, he's the devil. And Bernie's like, oh, and they say it enough times and then he just believes it.
No way, because Bernie and Trump's policies overlap.
I know. You got to get Bernie and Trump in a room together and have an interview.
He knows? No.
That's like the nexus.
But Ian, let me say that. Bernie knows this.
Populism.
Bernie knew this When in 2015, when the media was saying that Bernie and Trump overlapped, I can't believe it's 10 years now. You guys can believe how old were you?
16.
16. She had no idea what was going on.
Couldn't even vote.
Playing with Polly Pockets or whatever you kids are doing.
I voted for Trump twice. They're like fake Republican. I was like, I couldn't vote the first time. It's not my fault. I would have.
Bernie and Trump didn't have identical policies, but they were talking largely in their campaigns about illegal immigration hurting the working class and wanting to bring factories back to this country. And there were tons of people who were supporting Bernie. And when Bernie got knocked out by the DNC for a variety of reasons, I mean, they basically rigged the whole thing against him. They went to Trump. I've met them. I've interviewed them. The thing is, I described it as there's an ivory tower. Trump and Bernie walked up to there's two doors, front and back door. Bernie walked up and knocked and said, "We're here. Let us in." And then they dumped, tar and feather out the window, and Bernie went, "Oh," and they all ran away. Trump ran full speed, slammed his way through the door, shattering it, ran up the stairs, knocking everything down while they all started screaming, and they're terrified of him. Bernie, he bent the knee. They came to him and said, "We will destroy you. You're not coming in." And he says, "I will do anything you say." He's Anakin bowing to Palpatine.
Him not endorsing Tulsi is so weird. I don't.
Why?
Or RFK,
because that aligns with everything he's ever talked about his whole career, like unveiling the deep state, like giving the power to the common man.
But he's never meant any of that stuff, and I don't understand why he's a communist. Right? He's been lying about being a communist forever.
Well, Phil, the actual communists call him a nationalist capitalist.
Yes.
Because Bernie's stated policy positions. So the World Socialist website in like 2015, 2016 wrote an article saying, do not support Bernie. He's a nationalist capitalist. He wants closed borders. He wants workers' rights only for American citizens. And he believes that workers should be able to get money and spend it as they choose from their jobs, but it should be more. They said Bernie is a capitalist. The only position he had was that he thought shares in a publicly traded company companies should be required to reserve 20% of their shares towards employee bonuses when they go up in value.
So maybe he's close to a Fabian socialist, which the Fabian Society is a socialist society that doesn't want an actual revolution. They want to vote capitalism away, vote socialism into existence.
I think Bernie has been. Bernie,
he was fond of the Soviet Union. He went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon, and he had glowing praise for him. So maybe he looks at the situation in the United States and says, well, this is what the context that we live in. But I think that when it comes to his moral compass and the things that he believes, I think that he believes that in socialism, he believes that it can happen.
I want you to envision it this way. Deep within Donald Trump is an avatar of raw will. And just imagine this super oiled up, muscular guy going, that's Trump's willpower. Yep. Trump is a terrifying guy to go up against. And when the deep state tried, they lost.
Yes.
Inside of Bernie Sanders, I would describe his will as a 17-year-old who doesn't eat protein and has a B vitamin and thiamine deficiency, so they actually struggle to walk. And we're deeply concerned about them not eating a proper diet or lifting weights, so they're bedridden. Bernie Sanders is a terrified, callow individual, and Donald Trump is a boisterous ram smashing through the deep state.
Yeah, he's also an intensely proud capitalist and has been. Donald Trump, his entire life, real estate magnate. Magnate, is that how you say the word?
Magnate. I love how he's like, Gaza is a real estate deal. And there's that viral video from the debates in 2015 where Marco Rubio's like, I think it might be 2016. He's like, Donald Trump, Gaza is not a real estate deal. It's not. And he's like, it is. And now Trump is once again still saying the same thing. We're going to treat it like a real estate deal. We're going to make everybody's lives better. I don't know that Trump, I do appreciate the out of the box thinking on this one. His idea is very simple, though maybe not possible. He's like, we take the Palestinians who are displaced, we move them out, we rebuild the whole thing like the Riviera with beautiful homes, and we bring them back in. Not all of them. And then we're going to make it this beautiful place, and it's just like, yeah, that's never going to happen, Trump.
You're not excited to stay at Mara Gaza? I'm very excited.
What's funny is, you know what Mar-a-Lago means, right?
No.
Beauty, this beautiful sea?
No.
What does lago mean?
Come on,
What
Serge, say
language
it.
is this?
Mar like Spanish.
Spanish.
Come on.
Mar.
Yeah, sea of something.
It means
No,
from the
Mars is
sea to the
sea.
lagoon.
Oh.
Oh,
Lago,
Okay.
yes.
So the two
Sea
bodies
to
of
lagoon.
water
Oh,
that
that's
you
cool.
have,
free lagoons.
you have in Palm Beach, you have it's like this strip, and then you have the ocean, and so Mar-a-Lago is
From the lagoon to the sea.
from the lagoon. It's from the sea to the lagoon, Mar-a-Lago.
Mm.
And of course, we know that there is a similar phrase in this area
Yeah.
in the Middle East.
Yeah.
From the
Are you looking at
from
me
the
to
river.
say it? That is a hate
funny.
crime. Tim.
You brought up Maragaza, and I was like, that's actually pretty funny because the contrast of Mar-a-Lago is beauty. I mean, we live in a simulation, don't we? You have from the ocean to the lagoon this beautiful property of opulence and American spirit and success and nobility. And then you have this phrase of the far left activists from the river to the sea, which represents destruction, war, conflict, and pain.
The simulation is real. The Super Bowl,
Murder.
the bald eagles destroyed the Native American themed team, the Chiefs. And it was just like pure American propaganda. Simulation theory. Dude, it's so
It was
real.
also the team Trump
okay.
endorsed.
Keep looking for symbolism.
He endorsed which one?
I
The
don't
Chiefs.
think so.
Oh,
Trump was there for the Chiefs. He's like, I am fully team Chiefs. And the Eagles haven't gotten, as far as I know, they have not gotten their invite to the White House yet.
Wow.
And they're like, well, maybe go if he invites us.
I gotta say, Ian, it is a funny idea that the Chiefs were crushed by the Eagles.
And they're literally, it's a bald eagle on their helmet.
Right.
It's a type of bald eagle.
We live in a simulation, and not
It's true.
because of any of this, but because of quantum entanglement.
Dude, I wonder if we keep reliving this life. Like every time we're born again, it's constantly this one over and over and over and over. And there's always the history. There's always but it's always this. I don't.
No, the reason I'd say no is because if you take a look at static on a TV, it would probably be nigh infinite iterations of reality. I do think it's probably likely that time is circuitous of sorts, that it curves in on itself. That means that one theory is that as time goes forward, eventually it wraps all the way back around, but that doesn't mean it's a single loop. It is a multidimensional fabric, so every time it wraps back around on itself, it's in a different shape, twisted in a different way with different iterations of itself.
Well, that makes sense with like the statistic. Oh my gosh, I couldn't speak. The statistics of probability, that the way that the particles arrange in the universe, there's only so many ways that it can be arranged. It's like building a Lego set or something like that. So you can make different ways, but eventually in every whatever number universe or probability, it will be rearranged just like it is now, but like a little different. Like maybe you have Ian's hair and you wear a beanie in another realm.
You lucky.
I mean, that's the easiest way to describe it in another
I was
version
trying
of
to make
reality.
it simple. You're talking quantum physics over here. I'm like, hey, people, this is a simple way to understand.
In another universe, there's literally no Earth. It's just nothing.
No Earth.
So it's more just like versions of this, but with different.
that's
Like
Anna,
different variations.
Well, there's probabilistic multidimensional theory, which states that for every probabilistic outcome, a new reality branches off from it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I believe that idea. Some people don't believe any. Some people think there's a singular, one true timeline, whatever, and time travel's not a thing, and whatever. Probably more faith-based individuals would probably think that. I don't know. We think we know a lot. Humans actually know very little, so who knows? We can make cell phones, but we can't map time. So, but the craziest thing, though, is I do recommend, if you are interested any of the time, read as much about gravity as you can.
Yep.
Because it is mind-bending.
Oh, really?
People don't understand how mind-bending it is. So I'll give you a simplified version. Two bodies on a curved object moving in the exact same, moving forward, eventually will intersect. So that is take a globe and put two people at the same latitude and have them move south. Eventually, they will intersect. Depending on the distance between them, they may intersect at the South Pole, because south to you may be one way to another, but once you get to the bottom, south is one direction. Hence, they have that riddle where you say you're in a cabin where every window has southern exposure, and a bear approaches. What color is the bear? And it's supposed to be a riddle. I guess it's not really a good one. And then everyone goes, how am I supposed to know the color of the bear is? Because if the windows only have southern exposure, that means you're at the South Pole. Or it's no, I'm sorry, you're at the North Pole. Every window is pointing south. That means you are literally at the North Pole, and every direction is south. There's no east or west. So the bear is going to be white, right?
Other way around, brown. The polar bears are in the south. So if every window is pointing north, it'd be a white bear.
Polar bears are in the south?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna put
I think
$1 million bucks on that final answer.
You are wrong.
Am I really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're
All right,
wrong
let's-
about
let's-
that one.
Let's
I feel like
phone a
polar bears
friend.
live in the North Pole. I feel like that's their whole thing.
Polar bears are north, not south.
Like that's
Yeah, polar bears.
Anyway,
bears,
you're
North Pole.
definitely yeah,
anyway,
because
I
they're-
digress. So one of the simple ways people...
Yeah, you're right. I was wrong with such confidence.
So we are going to get
Welcome to
back
my
into
life.
talking about like actual news in a second, but I do want to mention this because I was watching this really interesting video that described the easiest way to understand gravity is that we are moving forward on a curved dimensional axis that is time, and we don't perceive it as movement, we perceive it as time. But the reason there's gravity is because two objects on a curved space moving in a forward direction will eventually intersect. That's what gravity is.
That's so badass.
When I was in high school, I studied multidimensional probabilities of different dimensions, and we learned all of that. And it actually brought up the religious thing. It actually like proves in a way it lines up. It's a time where science and religion line up because for my language in the Torah, when Jews got the original Torah, it says that they were at a higher dimension and that God read all 10 commandments at once, and that the Jewish people at that time, they weren't officially Jews. The people of Israel were very scared and they all like passed out and they're like, Moses, please read it to us. We are so terrified. You read it to us. And the punishment for that was God dropped them down in dimension. And that makes sense with the time. Like, how could you listen to 10 things read at once or even say 10 things at once? It doesn't make sense. But when you look at time, not on a linear path, when like from a higher dimension, it all happens at once.
Right. If from a higher dimension, time could appear as though you're
dot.
looking down a road.
Yeah.
If
You can see a bunch of different options. They're all called spines. Like if I choose to wear a red dress or a blue dress, that's a whole different path in my life. And a higher dimension being like an angel or God, which is much higher, can see all of those at once. So that's where it comes like
And-
free will versus God's plan.
Imagine you're looking outside of the fourth dimension, which we would consider to be time, and they can see you, Ian, from your point of birth to your point of death, and they can choose to go to any point in your life and intervene and then see how that changes and then go to this point, then go back and change it again.
I think that's the fifth dimension. It's like an infinite wave of
is.
possible timelines.
Called spines, like each individual thing, like your back, like a spine. And that's what I've always understood as free will, where God can see all the different paths in your life that you could take, but you can choose exactly which one you will take. So you don't have complete free will. You don't have a probability that God never thought of or could never foresee, but you can still choose within that. And it's just a cool way where science and religion actually prove each other and work together.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.